Hello again, everyone. Welcome back. Well, today we are reviewing the new seasonal Halloween release from Tatuaje and the Monster series. This is The Bride. Now, this pays homage to the Bride of Frankenstein, of course. This is a Connecticut broadleaf wrapper over Nicaraguan binders and fillers. Available in one size, of course, is 7 1/4 by 48. Rather long, rather thin. Offered in 13 count boxes. Average price $13 a piece. This is an annual release, as I said. There have been many in the Monster series, even the Skinny Monsters and what have you, the Lancero versions, but this is this year's version. Of course, you have Tatuaje there on one part of the band and Monster on the other. Now, even though this is a Connecticut broadleaf wrapper, that is not very dark. Do you agree? It's just sort of a milk chocolate dark, if anything. It's almost a medium brown. But regardless, there is your density. Has a good feel in the hand, but it is a big, long cigar. So let's get right to it. Lots of information on the blog about the cigar. Read it, digest it, but come back and watch the review of the new Tatuaje The Bride. It's a well-made cigar. It's actually not perfect. If you look at it, it's not exactly glass smooth, but that's okay. Let's concentrate on the flavors. Okay. We got us a pretty good draw there. The first flavor is a very nice tangy citrus. Lots of brown sugar, a little cinnamon, nutmeg bridging over to a rather light chocolate fudge, and black coffee. A little bit of earthiness to the black coffee. Black pepper at about 7.5. It has sufficient dark notes to it, but it's not overly dark. It's not overly chocolatey. And as I said, this is not an overly dark. It's not a dark wrapper. But let's see how we transition. Let's see what happens next. Well, I'm here at first third, and I'm getting more of the earthy coffee, earthy black coffee. The chocolate remains very subtle. It's a chocolate fudge, and you get it right before the black coffee, which is the very last flavor you'll probably taste. But you get it in a rather minor amount. The tangy sweet citrus is starting to do its thing, where it's more of a sweet cedar with a little tanginess to it. You still have your brown sugar and a little cinnamon. The nutmeg is there. It's very detectable. And at times I'm getting the smoothness of caramel for another sweet flavor. The cigar is it's really pretty sweet. You don't really get the darker notes, the chocolate and the coffee, until right at the last of the draw, or as you retrohale through the nose. Cigar is medium bodied. Finish has a little bit of that chocolate, a little bit of the caramel, and a little bit of the nutmeg, with a little bit of lingering black pepper. So that's where we are at the first third. Now I like a lot of sweet, tangy, nutmeggy Nicaraguan cigars. I like this cigar; it's very good, and I like the fact that the chocolate and coffee notes are not overblown. For the first third, I'll start it at a 93. It's a very tasty cigar. Actually, it's very good. Uh, but for a broadleaf wrapper, I'm taking that to be a Maduro. It's not very Maduro-esque. But be that as it may, hey, go by the flavors. Well, I'm at the midpoint. I normally wouldn't come back, but I felt compelled to because the flavors really jumped. The last segment I said that it kind of sort of went to a sweet cedar rather than a tangy citrus. It seems to be more of a tangy citrus, and it's very tangy and very sweet. It's almost like that flavor that I describe as the orange baby aspirin. That's tangy and sweet. If you remember that from your childhood, nutmeg seems to be somewhat elevated now. Doesn't hurt it, but it is more noticeable. And those darker notes still remain in a lower level amount at the tail end. But that chocolate fudge, very, very low level, it carries over to the finish quite a bit. It's like it gets to a point, but doesn't go away. It just lingers right on through the finish. Along with that, other flavors on the finish, the nutmeg and a little bit of like a caramel type flavors for some sweetness. The lingering black pepper is up. Cigar is still medium bodied, but it's with the elevated sweet flavors that have really just sort of jumped. It's really gotten much better. I normally don't give a midpoint score, but I had to come back because this one made such a jump. I'm bumping it to a 95. It's really gotten really good right here. Now, I don't know whether it'll maintain this level of sweetness because I've only had one other of these. So I don't have a lot of track record, a lot of history with it. So I'm going by this sample pretty much 100%. But there you go. The midpoint, it has really jumped in their sweetness, and what a good place for it to happen at the midpoint. But we know from here it can only go one of two ways, and it's a little shaky, but we'll see what happens. Well, finished with the second third. And the flavors are like they were in the previous segment at the midpoint, except that the chocolate fudge, the fudge-like flavors are elevated. They are much more now than they were at the midpoint. Not taking away very much from the cigar, but it is more darker. There are more fudge notes. And I'm going with fudge rather than straight chocolate because that's what it tastes like, a fudge. But it's the coffee, somewhat earthy, and the chocolate fudge are a little bit elevated. Taking away just a little bit of the sweetness, but you can't take away that tangy sweetness entirely. It'd have to be something massive happen. Finish is unchanged, although I'm getting more fudge on the finish. Medium, leaning toward medium to full. That's it. But I'm going to change the score to 94 simply because the elevated fudge notes and the coffee notes took away that little bit of sweetness. We're talking about a little bit of subtleties here, but it's not right quite like it was at the midpoint. It's a little darker, and this is not an overly sweet darkness as far as the dark notes, so I'm going to go with 94. Still not bad. Let's see what the final third brings. Well, I'm down to the end, so let's wrap it up. I don't think anything has changed from the 2/3 point to the end. It's just like it was at that point. Just as good, just as tangy, just as sweet, just as much fudge notes that when they're there, they stay at that same level all the way through the finish. It's just one constant. I'll give it a medium to full, low grade medium to full. Finish is unchanged. This is a good cigar. If it wasn't cost prohibitive, I could smoke this every day. This is a good cigar. This is a good cigar. Love the tangy citrus and the baby aspirin almost flavor. A little wisp of caramel, brown sugar, cinnamon, nutmeg. It's all good. This is a very good addition to the Monster series from Tatuaje. I will maintain the 94 for the final segment, which will average out to an overall rating, in this case, of 94. Very good cigar. If you haven't tried it, do so. You won't regret it. So there you have it, the new Tatuaje The Bride, part of the Monster series, 94.